All right, so there are some changes afoot in terms of the way we live life in the United States. It most likely won't be long before we'll be walking down the street or in your backyard, and you'll look up in the sky and you'll say, it's a bird, it's a plane, no, it's a drone. Hard to say when and where this will actually happen, and also when it started, but we can follow parts of the paper trail. In February, Congress passed a bill requiring the Federal Aviation Administration to open up national airspace to unmanned civil and commercial aircraft by 2015. The bill gives funding to the FAA and assigns the FAA the task of coming up with a plan to make this all happen. Well, then just last week, the FAA announced a new set of rules. Essentially, they're saying they're going to make it easier and faster for government entities to obtain a certificate of authorization. And I'll just read you one line from the FAA website. It says if the FAA disapproves a COA, the agency then will quickly address questions from the applicant and try to provide alternative solutions that will lead to approval. So the bottom line here is drones are here to stay. But what will they be used for? And to what extent will privacy be taken into consideration when some of these local governments sign up for permission to use drones in their jurisdictions? Joining me now is Jefferson Morley, staff writer for Salon, and also author of the book Snowstorm in August. Hey there, Jefferson. I wanted to talk to you about this. Talk to me a little bit about the purpose of surveillance drones and also some of, in your opinion, the worst case scenarios.
Well, first of all, we're talking about what the FAA is doing is opening up the airspace to drones of all sorts, and public safety agencies get first are going to be the first in line to get permission. They can fly aircraft up to 25 pounds. When you talk to law enforcement people, what they say they plan to use this technology for is search and rescue missions and watching fires. Searching for missing people, that kind of thing. So I've talked to a lot of police departments, and they pretty much all disavow any intention to use, use these as surveillance drones. But they certainly have that capacity, and the law, as it now stands, is a little unclear on what the privacy grounds are. So you talk about a worst-case scenario. Some police departments have asked for permission to have weaponized drones. I think that's a bad idea and a worst-case scenario. And they can be used for surveillance, depending on as soon as somebody wants to do that. So we need a lot more protection to be written into the law right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just very vague right now. And certainly there are situations in which some drones are good. A lot of people think of drones and they think of, these unmanned aerial vehicles that kill people in Pakistan. But certainly there are some that help out in the time of fire. They can detect heat. They can detect, signs of life. But one of the things that is really interesting to me, Jefferson, is some of these drones are actually, the smaller ones at least, they're less than 4.5 pounds. Do you think people understand that drones, I mean, the vast majority of the American public, do you think they understand that a lot of these drones are going to be very small, the size of some birds?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are beginning to wake up to this technology, and it's a disruptive, transformative technology, like like a web browser or like a GPS. So, what they're going to be used for, what kind of public, civil, commercial applications they might have. I think there might be a lot of great applications that nobody's even thought of yet. I don't discount the upside of this technology. It's not all a big problem, but because industry is driving this thing, the government is behind, the law has not caught up with this, that's where we have the potential problems.
And I should mention the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF, did some digging and found out there's a whole long list of agencies that have already been approved to use unmanned aerial vehicles. Now, we talked about on this show a little bit about how, a lot of colleges are adding drone technology to their curriculum. But I do want to put it... Oh, go ahead.
The expectation, and the reason the universities are doing this, when you ask them, they say they see this as a job growth area, and that they want to prepare young people for jobs that are going to be opening up in this industry. So universities are among the early adopters here.
Yeah,
And,
certainly. According to the FAA, by 2020, so less than 10 years from now, they predict as many as 30,000 drones will be in use in the United States. But I do want to put, we were talking about some of these colleges and universities, I do want to put a map up showing the sites the FAA acknowledges as domestic drone authorizations. The agency confirmed there are about 300 active COAs and that it's issued between 700 and 750 authorizations. A few of the schools include Texas A&M, the University of Colorado, the University of Connecticut, and then there's also some other entities, the Department of Energy in Idaho, the Miami-Dade Police Department, the city of Harrington, Kansas. So we just wanted to kind of, show people this is going on all around this country. But don't you think, Jefferson, a lot of people are going to, sort of start to wonder what's happening in their skies?
Yeah, and they are, and I think the industry needs to, and government need to address this. You mentioned some police departments. There's 18,000 police departments in the United States. Only about 300 of them have helicopters right now, and helicopters are very expensive to operate. So a lot of these police departments are going to be able to obtain an aerial capacity for surveillance, for search and rescue at a much lower cost. So I think, especially in the area of public safety, we're going to see growth, and people do need assurances that that there's going to be safety and privacy are going to be taken into account. It's coming very quickly, and I don't think those concerns have been adequately addressed so far.
Well, and what I'm wondering, too, is just sort of about this rush. I mean, as soon as this year, agencies working in the government public safety realm are going to be approved, as long as they follow the rules, they have to be approved. They have to be given permission, at least to use some of these smaller drones, the one that we talked about.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate that public safety agencies, go first. I think the usefulness of drones in search and rescues is obvious in hostage situations. So law enforcement needs to, I think, obtain these and experiment with them and see that they're used responsibly. I don't think anybody would criticize that. But the question is, how transparent are these police agencies going to be? What kind of rules will govern information collected via drones? The United States, among a lot of countries, has relatively weak privacy laws at the national level, certainly as compared to Europe. And that's one of the problems that the drones points up is we need stronger protection of people's privacy in drones and all sorts of other information.
And I think that some of the, officials at a more local level are starting to acknowledge this. We saw it in one situation. We saw it in one situation in Tennessee, and we saw it in Seattle as well. And you were talking a little bit about this, because in some cases, the city council has to approve this. And so they're asking questions, and they're saying, how do we ensure that this won't infringe on people's privacy?
And I think that's a positive step. I think that Congress may not be responsive on this issue. Congress didn't hold hearings on privacy, before or safety before they rush this rush this order to the FAA. So I think it's good that Seattle and other cities are taking it up and saying, we'll decide, we'll control the drones. We're not going to wait for the FAA to act. We're going to set up some very clear rules at home. And I think, if that happens, then I think law enforcement will have the trust of the public, and people will be less worried about the privacy things. But, law enforcement needs to win the trust of the public in order to be able to deploy this new technology.
Yeah, certainly a lot of these laws at the federal level, made right down the street from our studios, they're just so vague, and it seems like that is happening intentionally. So you got to ask these questions. Jefferson Morley, staff writer for Salon and author of the book Snowstorm in August. Appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you, Kristen.